This is Michael Carano with RBP Chemical Technology and chairman of the IPC's Thought Leadership Program. Before I introduce you today's thought leader, Mr. Joe O'Neil, I wanted to give you some background into why the IPC Thought Leadership Program was created. As you know, IPC is the global leader in electronics as a trade association working on standards, education, certification, and advocacy. And as thought leaders, as a leadership role in the electronics industry, IPC has recruited an astute group of industry experts from a wide variety of backgrounds, including cybersecurity, business management, competition, technology, innovation, safety, security, and environmental. And over the period of the next year, our thought leadership members will be bringing you various white papers, webinars, and other interesting thoughts for our industry and how we can move forward and reduce the impact of these many changes that are taking place. With me, as I said, is Mr. Joe O'Neil, who is an experienced industry veteran serving on nonprofit boards, including chairman of the IPC at one time and an experienced board member. He's also an innovator and business manager and with skilled in negotiation and building various businesses. He's currently an advisor to Green Circuits. Joe, welcome and thank you.
Good morning or good afternoon, Mike. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thanks. So Joe, I mean, as a thought leader and has been someone who's been experienced and has contributed to our industry and to the IPC for many years, what really, when you look at electronics manufacturing, what really interests you and what brings you, I mean, really, what you're going to bring to the thought leadership program?
Well, I never really, being called a thought leader is kind of an odd thing for me, but this industry's been very very good to me. But it's still exciting in terms of what the future brings. So it's a very diverse industry, companies of all sizes. It's a service business, it's a manufacturing business, it's a technology business, it's a financial business. It's very complex. And what really interests me is where it's going and the opportunities that exist with automation and standardization, with artificial intelligence. There's just so much complexity to each aspect of the business that these emerging technologies really could change the ballgame.
So Joe, based on what you just said, and when you integrate all these technologies, and being someone who's experienced in our industry, how do you see this as providing a positive impact for not just the economy in the United States, but in the world economy in general?
Well, the technologies that can arise from, I think Moore's law has been, tremendously beneficial across all industries, across all countries. It's been very beneficial in medical innovation and just everyday conveniences like just the supercomputer in my hand. So those really, those technologies were made possible by the manufacturing, fabrication, assembly, service, all of those parts of our IPC membership really came together to make those things possible. The challenges that existed, are very much the same that they were, for the last decades. That this business, we do new product introduction a dozen times a day in each of our, each factory across the country. The technology to wafer fabrication is, the feature sizes are tighter, the process windows are tighter, but that is a one-to-many type of NPI where you get that dialed in and you produce 1 million chips. On the circuit board side, on the interposer side, on the assembly side, we're typically doing 10 to 12 new product introductions a day, and having to do all of that engineering, research and development, all day, every day. So it's a one-to-one type of relationship. So that challenge exists. And if we can standardize that and get that development cycle faster, we could get, I think, increase the rate of innovation, and and keep this technological evolution going and accelerating.
So it sounds like your passion is obviously technology innovation, cycle time reduction, which I think you've outlined as a key. So with that, and particularly, putting your hat on in North America, and particularly in, state of California and your other businesses across the globe, potentially, what's one thing you could tell our industry, or I should say our government leaders, on how they could help, spur this innovation and spur this obviously economic growth that comes along with some of the things you just discussed?
Well, I think there are, a lot of things that could help. Staying out of the way is one, but the other is, I mean, I talk a lot about, artificial intelligence and automation, and like, okay, well, there go all the jobs, but it's quite the opposite. That we can't find enough people to do what needs to be done today, and I think the challenge is making sure that the up and coming generation understands that all of that excitement of AI and automation and robotics all exist within our industry. They don't need to go to a social media platform company to have software technical challenges presented to them as a career opportunity. The career path is very very good in the electronics industry. It's got all this diversity in terms of projects that you're working on. You'll be working on a life-saving technology one minute, and then a gaming technology the next. It's you see everything under the sun. So what can we do to keep our education system, our STEM programs funded, to make sure that we've got a very viable and vibrant workforce coming up. And then I think we also have an understanding at a government level that research and development is core to our country's success. That's technological leadership is there. I think there's some educational opportunities for us to take with government and with our own industry, to understand what research and development really means. Something with an undetermined outcome, something with a scientific process. You put those filters in and you look at what the printed circuit board fabrication business is. It's almost entirely R&D. You look at EMS, you look at, you've got a room full of process engineers and reflow profiles and million possible variants of every circuit board in terms of copper weights and tooth and thicknesses and dielectrics, and it's all R&D. And when you look at our industry versus a chip fab or even an OEM, and you look at the percentage of R&D that they report, our industry it reports almost low single digits to zero quite often. And I don't think that's because we don't do R&D. I think it's because we misunderstand what the definition of R&D is, and we discount the technical work that we're doing at our factories each and every day. Because we do it each and every day, we don't take it aside and say, oh, that's a different group. That's our R&D guys. No, we're all R&D guys in this business. Exactly. So we need to take advantage of that and really, reflect a little bit on what it is that we do in our business, and then get the benefits that are afforded tax-wise and otherwise for that research and development effort.
That's a perfect, I think, a great description. You talked about R&D, innovation, investment, but also, again, making our leadership, our elected leadership, understand the importance of electronics, and particularly the importance of the printed circuit board. They tend to look at a circuit board, I think, some people, as a commodity and forgetting that it is the beginning of where it all starts. Because without the circuit board, there's no place for the chips to go, the components to go, and that thing you just held up in your hand would never be, where it is today. It would still be the size of a room instead
Yeah.
of in your palm of your hand. And it is electronics, and it starts with that circuit board, the materials and the processes and the people and the instrumentation equipment. This has been incredibly informative, Joe. We're looking forward to your further contributions in the Thought Leadership Program.
Thank you, Mike.